In any hyper-competitive market, a single question dictates who survives and who fails. Why is it that some companies weather immense economic pressure, while others shatter the moment the market shifts? Welcome to CSM 505. This is Chapter 1, Introduction to Quality. We are going to examine the precise mechanism that separates those surviving businesses from the failures. Our roadmap covers 4 specific areas: the business imperative for survival, the formal definitions and lenses of quality, its historical evolution, and finally, its universal application across industries and your own personal habits. Many organizations attempt to survive by relentlessly cutting costs, but starving a company of resources frequently accelerates its path to bankruptcy. True margins are built by investing heavily in execution. This text lays out the foundational equation of commerce. It starts simply: no quality equals no sales. The math is unforgiving. When consumers stop buying, revenue dries up. That absence of sales destroys profit, and without profit, the company ceases to exist, taking all of its jobs with it. Maintaining that survival requires a precise physical balance. Organizations have to weigh the heavy demands of quality against their internal productivity and overall costs. Think about your own purchasing habits. Recall a specific time a product broke down or a service failed you completely. That single defect likely erased your loyalty to that brand forever. Quality is the price of admission. Without it, the company has no future to manage. When we hear the word quality, we instinctively picture physical objects on an assembly line. That bias makes sense historically. Companies like Motorola pioneered massive quality revolutions in the 1980s by focusing strictly on hardware. By continually reducing physical product defects and tightening their manufacturing cycle times, they proved that flawless execution secures market dominance. But look at the other side of the board. PricewaterhouseCoopers sells consulting. Their product is entirely intangible. In a service firm, flawless execution means aligning strategic goals with operational reality. The metrics change from defect rates to exceptionally high customer loyalty and low employee turnover. The mechanism is identical. A buggy software update or disastrous financial advice destroys consumer trust at the exact same speed as a shattered phone screen. The rules apply everywhere. Quality is the flawless execution of a brand's promise, regardless of whether that promise is made of plastic or data. If this standard dictates whether a business lives or dies, why is it so notoriously difficult to define? Quality changes depending on the evaluator's lens. To manufacturing, it means strict conformance to specifications. The end user only cares about fitness for use. Does the device take good videos? Finally, the value lens calculates quality by comparing the product against the price paid. These perspectives frequently collide. A company can manufacture a device with perfect internal dimensions, but if the user finds the interface confusing, the product is a failure. Organizations cannot pick just one definition to satisfy. They have to solve for all of these variables at the same time. Quality is a complex, multidimensional matrix of overlapping stakeholder expectations. If expectations dictate the design, we must look past the physical object and map the human network that actually builds it. Who sets the standards? The visible arbiter is the external customer, the student buying food. But behind the counter, the cashier is the internal customer of the kitchen staff. It's a strict dependency. If the cook provides a defective product, the cashier fails. If the kitchen fails, the front of house fails. This dependency scales up to form the corporate value chain, operating as a continuous loop. Marketing uncovers needs and passes information to design for blueprints. Manufacturing builds physical reality to match, acting as the internal supplier for distribution, who delivers it safely to the customer. Every single one of these transfers revolves around the external customer at the center of the system. Because the chain is continuous, a breakdown at any isolated point on this conveyor belt instantly corrupts the final product. An organization is a boundaryless chain of internal customers. Operating in isolated silos is the direct enemy of execution. Keeping that loop running smoothly is difficult enough, but the historical data shows that the baseline standards are constantly accelerating. Quality originally relied on individual, skilled craftsmen. By the early 20th century, the Industrial Revolution forced companies to implement rigid statistical methods to keep up with mass production. Post-World War II, this evolved into the modern, data-driven frameworks of total quality management and Six Sigma. Today, those frameworks face crushing new pressures. Organizations must adapt to a landscape defined by radical transparency, hyper-aware consumers, lightning-fast technological shifts, and a mandate for global responsibility. Modern quality management is not a finish line to be crossed. It is a relentless, evolutionary race just to maintain market parity. This brings us to a fatal corporate illusion: the belief that product integrity is exclusively the problem of the factory floor or the quality assurance department. Every single function inside a business holds veto power. If purchasing hunts strictly for lowest cost instead of superior raw materials, the product fails. If finance fails to budget accurately for systemic improvements, the operation stalls. There is an ultimate economic justification for investing in this alignment across all departments. This engine of profitability attacks both sides of the ledger simultaneously. On the left, superior design increases perceived market value, allowing higher revenues. On the right, strict conformance eliminates waste and rework, effectively lowering total production costs. An engine that simultaneously pushes revenues up while pulling operating costs down is the single most powerful financial mechanism in business. Running that profitability engine effectively over time yields a specific structural result. It builds an impenetrable moat against competitors. That lasting competitive advantage occurs when an organization perfectly matches its unique internal resources with active market opportunities. But corporate strategy and macroeconomics only tell half the story. The rest comes down to the individual. The uncomfortable truth is that world-class systems and intricate flowcharts fail immediately if individual operators don't care. It requires looking in the mirror. Do you double-check assignments before submitting? Do you hold yourself to the standard you expect from brands you buy? Organizational quality is simply the aggregate output of personal pride. If it isn't rooted in the daily microhabits of the workforce, it cannot be sustained. These are the foundational pillars. Quality is the mathematical requirement for survival. It demands an absolute focus on customer needs. It requires constant evolution, and it applies universally.